When designing curriculum, we also need to look at design dimensions. For example, we take a look at scope. Scope is your breadth and depth of curriculum, what to include, how much to include, and then how much detail to include in it. We also take a look at sequence. Sequence considers the developmental processes over time, or it looks at chronological content over time. So how do we organize that curriculum for students when they're younger until they're older? Quite often we look at developmental ability. Sometimes we look at chronological content, like in history, where we go from earlier times to later times. Another thing to look at is continuity. So when we have a curriculum, are we looking at repeating certain elements that we believe have more value? For example, reading happens every year in a student's life. It's an important skill, but the complexity of that reading skill increases as the student gets older. We also take a look at integration. So integration has a lot to do with combining different subjects together so that students can see the interrelatedness of concepts in math and science and geography. So they don't see that learning in isolated silos. Another thing is articulation. Articulation refers to the design of it when we look at horizontal or vertical, which I talked about earlier. The last, but definitely not least, is balance. Balance refers to looking at the whole student. Are we developing them personally, emotionally, socially, and intellectually? Probably one of the hardest to keep all together, and probably the most personal.